whoever was doing all the backstage interviews was like, well, you've done just about everything. And The Rock goes, no. The Rock hasn't done just about everything. The Rock has done everything. There's nothing The Rock hasn't done. In fact, there's one thing that The Rock hasn't done, and that's make a white baby. And then he just stared at this small, scared white woman like... Welcome back, everyone, to the Two Words Podcast, Season 5. Five-time season finale, where we are talking about the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, the Brahmable himself, The Rock. And I don't spell it. I mean, yeah, you just name a guy who is more transcendent. Even when he was wrestling, like, everybody knew who The Rock was. They're like, you know, even us sheltered kids who didn't watch wrestling growing, like, everybody knows who The Rock was. Everybody knew The Rock. So I guess the question is, what made him so great?
There's so much, man. So, first of all, I know the title Captain Charisma goes to Christian, but I really feel like The Rock is the king of charisma. Like he as a heel was one who could really back up the talk that he had, but it took a lot of build up for him to like lose. And so that brought about some fantastic matches, but mainly the promos, everything leading up to it. Like a lot of times we have these matches, these big matches that are coming up and they're a month away. And we're just like, we just got to get there. I love the fact that it took weeks to get to a big Rock match because there was weeks of bits with him just cutting the most vicious, entertaining promos.
It was actual story, too. Like, it was just, you know.
And he had, with that, he had a pretty unique ability to have charisma with pretty much anybody. Mm-hmm. Like, it's funny that you had Chat GPT write a promo on Omos. Gosh darn it. Omos. Because I feel like if anybody could have a chemistry, promo thing with Omos, it would only be The Rock.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to be
100%.
able to pull anything out for Omos. Whether it was opponents or partners. Like, he sounded great with Stone Cold, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Mankind, Undertaker, Vince, even undercard. You know, Chris Jericho shows up in the middle of a Rock promo. Fantastic back and forth there. Hurricane Helms had a promo off with The Rock at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. Like, everything, every interaction that he had was elevated to a status of best bit of the night.
Yeah.
And that's something that I can't pull anybody else's name out that can do that every time.
Well, and it was coming into it. He was really part of that transition because if you, I mean, and you know, everybody's going to go, oh, Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes. Like, no, people in the 80s could not cut promos. They were dumb promos when they were.
There's a reason why there's a handful that are viral now.
Very few.
Because those were the really good ones.
Yeah.
Made out from decades of them wrestling.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, in you come to the late 90s and the early 2000s, that's when, like, the ability to cut a promo really started taking off.
Yeah.
And I think that he was just the pioneer of that whole thing. You know, you couldn't find anybody that could do it better. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you have somebody that can have charisma and chemistry with anybody.
And he rode the line between being intimidating and over the top ridiculous in a way that I don't think most people could.
Yeah.
Like, the words that he was saying are ridiculous and hilarious. But the way he was saying them were like, I'm glad he's not talking to me.
Yeah.
And his catchphrases, of course. Catchphrase game, top tier. Like, he pulled so many out that just became instant classes. Classes. I was thinking boots to...
Classes. Boots to classes.
Boots to classes. Instant classics. Just Bring It, of course, being a later one, but If You Smell What the Rock is Cooking, Do You Smell What the Rock is Cooking? Finally, The Rock is back in, whatever. All these bangers that anytime he shows up and pulls them out today, everybody loses their ever-loving mind and will for all time.
One of my favorite lines, I don't think I've talked about it on this podcast before, but he was going to have a match with Goldberg in like 2005, I think. And I think it was at a Backlash. And he was doing a promo at the very, like right before that went out. And the whoever was doing all the backstage interviews was like, well, you've done just about everything. And The Rock goes, no. The Rock hasn't done just about everything. The Rock has done everything. There's nothing The Rock hasn't done. In fact, there's one thing that The Rock hasn't done, and that's make a white baby. And then he just stared at this small, scared white woman, like, and kind of like gave her the eyebrows.
That's kind of the other thing. 90s Rock is not something you could do today.
Oh, yeah. No, 1,000%.
His character is a bit over the top, at least when it came to his interaction with the ladies.
Yeah. Which is so interesting because we give John Cena so much crap for going from the Doctor of Thugonomics to the very like child-friendly PG thing. Mm-hmm. We don't do that to The Rock. We don't do that to The Rock. Yeah. Granted, The Rock didn't do that while in wrestling.
Right. I think that's the only reason.
Could be.
That would make sense to me, is that his persona would change when he gets out of wrestling and goes and does movies like Tooth Fairy.
Yeah. And so I think that because the other questions we were asking is, why is The Rock so important? And I think that's one of the big things. It was the guy who could come in and really create chemistry. He was the standard. He created all of these wonderful storylines and inspired all of these fantastic wrestlers and these fantastic moments. And you just don't have a whole lot of this stuff. I mean, he saved a lot of careers. Mm-hmm.
He also broke the mold for Samoan wrestlers.
Yeah.
Up until him, even including him when he first started as the Blue Chipper, Rocky Maivia, they had been very culture related gimmicks that were brought up, very Samoan culture related gimmicks, which we have a little bit now with the Bloodline, but even that, it's just like a taste of it. It's just like a flavor of this, these characters. It's not the whole thing. For him to switch from that as the Attitude Era rolled in to the cocky leader, or the cocky underling of the nation, who basically caused a coup and overthrew Farouk and became, the people's champion kind of character that we all knew. That was a big change for not only Samoan wrestlers, but really wrestlers in general, when it came to how you're gonna be a heel, but you're gonna be it in a way that everybody's laughing, and so they love it.
Yeah.
Like, that's not been... If people were laughing at you when you were a heel before the Attitude Era, it's because you were a stupid heel.
Yeah.
Not because you were
Doink the Clown.
Charismatic, yeah. And like, any of the people that were in that promo against Hulk Hogan, where he was like the dungeon of whatever.
The dungeon.
Where am I?
Where am I, brother? The Dungeon of Doom was so tragic.
And so we got to see him have those back and forths with Stone Cold. I loved the incident. I think this was still like Intercontinental Championship time, where they were technically in the mid card, where they each took a different turn at a different point of the year of tossing each other's title belt in the river at whatever town that they're in.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, this was some real good chemistry early on before they both became, the main eventers. And then so we had like the people's champion, the corporate champion, when he joined Vince and Shane and all that. And then when he got betrayed, it was like the Rock and Sock connection, him and Mankind. So we got to see him like as the serious bad guy,
this
and
is
then
your
as
life.
like the goofiest, like sidekick almost to. It was like they were both sidekicks to each other in a different way.
But it made it work.
It was so good. It showed such a big range for him.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, of course, makes sense now that he's Captain Hollywood.
Yeah.
But like this, it was the phrase he's built different, like certainly applies to him in all aspects, not just physical, but just the freaking charisma, man. And I can't get over it.
Because you saw the same thing with like Gold Dust. It's like you take this gimmick that is just absolute trash. You get some, because it seems like every once in a while these guys will get something that is meant to ruin their career, and people like Gold Dust, people like The Rock, they took it and they made their career off of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So The Rock and Sock Connection, that's timeless, man. Mm-hmm. Like Here Is Your Life is a timeless bit. So I really have to ask this: what's the best movie that The Rock's ever done?
We're gonna do best first, or we
do best first. We'll do best first.
I don't know what the best one is because they've all got pros and cons. I don't think there's any movie that he's done that's like this is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I do like the Jumanjis.
Jumanjis are good.
I really like Get Smart, but he's not really the main character in Get Smart. But honestly, my favorite one is probably not a very popular one, but it's Central Intelligence with Kevin Hart.
Central Intelligence
it was a silly movie, but he did really good in it. I laugh all the time.
Yeah. I
might watch that tonight now that I'm
thinking. Hey, who knows? There were two movies that he did kind of right there with each other, and it was Walking Tall.
Yes. Underrated.
Which is a fantastic film.
It's got a 23 on Rotten Tomatoes.
But it is outrageous.
Such a good movie.
Outrageous. And then there was another one he did.
Rundown.
The Rundown.
Rundown with
Scott.
What's his name?
Scott.
We both got Scott. I think
Scott's his last name. Yeah.
You know who we're talking about.
You know the guy. You know him.
The guy from wasn't he in the?
I think he was. Wasn't it Stifler?
Yeah, wasn't he in the American Pie movies or something?
Something Scott.
I don't know. Anyway, yes.
They
were both great.
Those were both great movies. Granted, they're not
cinematic masterpieces.
No,
but
they weren't meant to be
popcorn movies.
Especially after you had something like, his appearance in The Scorpion King, or The Mummy Returns, The Scorpion King.
That CGI nonsense in that Mummy movie. Looked terrible.
He might as well not even be in that film.
It ruined it.
They might as well not even have been like, oh, it's The Rock, because it's not.
Right. It took me out of that movie in a hurry. I'm like, well, this is
which is unfortunate because it's the last 10 minutes of the film.
Right.
Like,
right.
You gotta.
The movies were great up until that point.
So let's go with aside from The Mummy Returns.
I don't even have that on the list.
What is the worst? What is the worst Rock film? I'll go first. I hated The Rundown. That movie's dumb.
The Rundown. I don't think I've seen that.
Not The Rundown. The Game Plan.
The Game Plan. Okay, yes. Game Plan was bad.
Game Plan was awful.
Game Plan was bad. Doom was pretty bad. Baywatch was pretty bad. Tooth Fairy was pretty bad.
Doom was so... I forgot. Doom was so bad.
G.I. Joe Retaliation was pretty bad. All of his big budget apocalypse-esque movies. Skyscraper, San Andreas, Rampage.
I didn't even watch Skyscraper.
You shouldn't have. So just don't.
I didn't. I won't. I just can't do it.
People don't like Red Notice. Have you seen Red Notice?
I liked Red Notice.
I loved it. I want to see more movies with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
100%. I didn't hate Black Adam as much as everybody else did.
I forgot to put that on here.
I'm not gonna say it's the greatest movie. It's not the best DC film.
Nah. It's not. It didn't. It was decent.
It didn't deliver.
The problem was all the hype, which was like 14 years of hype that The Rock has been doing.
Significant amount.
It's the fact that
since Shazam.
Right. It's the fact that we've had... No, it was before that. He was working on this long before Snyder Cut, before Green Lantern, or about the same time as Green Lantern, I guess.
I didn't know that.
He's been campaigning to do this movie for about a decade.
Wow.
And he's been building that up, and he's not been quiet about it. He's been every now and then he'd be popping links and we're talking about, hey, we're talking Black Adam. You know, this is back when Man of Steel's coming out and everything. And all that build up and all that time to get this.
Yeah.
Was like, we could have done better.
And you should have been able to do better.
That being said, if you go in without expectations,
yeah,
that's a good movie.
Here's my problem is I can't watch a movie that has Pierce Brosnan and Aldous Hodge and have low expectations.
That's a good point.
Like, I just can't.
Yeah.
They're two of
I liked Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate.
He was a great Dr. Fate.
I want to see more of that.
I liked Aldous Hodge as Hawkman.
Yeah, I think he did a good job. Hawkman has been cast so many times in the last few years. I
didn't dislike The Rock's Black Adam. I thought he was a fine Black Adam. It was just like you're just not delivering. Right. This was supposed to be the hierarchy of the DC universe is shifting. It's like no.
And the other thing that I think was dumb about this whole thing was his complete aversion to Shazam. He did not want Shazam to be in the movie. He did not want any connection to Shazam. He had no interest in eventually sharing the screen with Shazam in a sequel. He wanted it to be Black Adam versus Superman.
I just don't even get.
Which is a thing in the comics, sure.
Yeah.
But long after we've already established him being a part of the Marvel, the Shazam family.
Yeah.
And it
you literally wear the same uniform.
Yeah, it shouldn't. You say the same word. You got the powers from the same guy. Like there should have been a cameo of Zachary Levi. And it could have been hilarious.
There should be a cameo of Zachary Levi in most films.
I would love Zachary Levi to show up everywhere for no reason whatsoever.
All over the place. And granted, then you get like the Tooth Fairy. Why you agreed to do that film, and I understand you take work when you can get work.
Look at Hulk Hogan's movies, man.
I mean,
Dookie.
I
watched that scene after you talked about it.
Stupid is all that.
You were right, man. It was 100%.
Let's focus on some positive. Let's focus on some positive as we close out. Who do you think was the best rivalry for The Rock? And I can almost assume we have the same guy. Maybe.
I feel like it has to be Stone Cold, right?
Okay, then we don't have
the same guy.
No.
Because the Rock and Stone Cold, here's my pitch here for why it would be the best one. The Rock and Stone Cold were two wrestling gods existing in one universe. Yeah. Like it's hard to say. Hulk Hogan's time, top tier was Hulk Hogan. John Cena's time, top tier was John Cena. Mm-hmm. Most people, including The Rock, will say during the Attitude, Stone Cold was the top tier, but it is hard for people to be convinced of that standing next to The Rock.
Yeah.
Those two were the twin pillars that held up the Attitude Era, and they were very different characters. He was the brawler, fighter, anti-hero. He was the cocky son of a gun, and they were both so good, not just on promos and build up, but the matches themselves. The wrestling was so good. Mm-hmm. Like they had the greatest trilogy of WrestleMania matches I think I've ever seen.
Solid. No, very solid.
And there was a brief period of time I think they were on the same side. They were both bases at the same time at one point. I think it was around the Union versus corporate ministry time.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they've always been opposites against each other and keep crossing paths throughout the years. That was always my favorite.
Yeah. No, and that's good. That's good. To me, the best rivalry that The Rock had was The Rock and Triple H.
I will give that to you.
And I say that because you had these two guys who just absolutely hated each other. and they could not have been more polar opposites in who they were.
Yeah.
They had this great, you look at all this collection of matches that they had, and they're all phenomenal. But then you add in The Nation versus DX.
Yeah.
And you had two guys who then made 8 people relevant. And you could have matches, you could pick out one from this side and one from this side at complete random, including the woman. And you had an entertaining match that people cared about.
You're right.
I mean, you made...
That might be the truest thing you've ever said there. Because I'm thinking about when I was watching, I'm like, yeah, Road Dogg versus Farouk, I'm here.
Yeah.
Mark Henry versus China, I'm here. Because it counted as Rock versus
I mean, it really was.
Triple H. It really
did. Billy Gunn and The Godfather. Like, you took the guy. I think that was probably the best version of The Godfather. Mm-hmm. I mean, I understand we have, his locomotive of sultry women and that sort of thing, but that was like a joke. That was really the only times he wasn't doing a joke gimmick.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, because The Godfather was a joke gimmick.
But even when, and I mean, I don't even know if it's still on the internet, but when all of DX showed up in blackface.
What the Rock says.
What the Rock says. The Rock went and took a big dump when you should have smelled what the Rock was cooking. But then you had X-Pac
Mark Henry,
just completely black with a bunch of pillows stuffed in his shirt.
Well, I don't know what I smell. It smells like crap. Oh man!
I mean, come on.
And it was Road Dogg as D'Lo Brown, right?
I think so. Yeah.
That's what the man said. That's what the man said. Flung my headphones off.
Oh my goodness!
Head.
Oh my goodness!
That was such
I love that.
Terrible idea.
It's terrible now.
But it was pre sensitivity on that.
Yeah,
like we have now. But it was a really funny bit. It wasn't done to mock like black people in general. It was just to mock these specific people.
Yeah.
All of the stuff that they did was mocking their own personalities.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
But and then they had that one kid that came out as Owen Hart with a giant nose.
I mean, it's like about Owen Hart being in The Nation, man.
That was weird.
Then you look at all of the marquee matches that The Rock has had, and these like pass the torch moments.
Yeah.
You had The Rock and Hollywood Hogan.
Dude,
like
such a good match.
That was really the last like great thing that Hogan did.
Yeah.
And then you had the match of a lifetime, once in a lifetime, twice.
Once in a lifetime revisited.
But here's the thing: is like
both of those were good matches.
Both of them were good matches, and they have both had great build-up. And like, I feel like The Rock is one of the only guys that could be like, we're doing once in a lifetime 2 years in a row.
I think The Rock is one of the only guys that can say, hey, it's the night after WrestleMania. I'm challenging you to a match next WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And keep everybody excited for it the whole year.
We did it. He did it.
Omos comes out and say, hey, in a year, you and me. I would have forgotten about it before the show was over.
Yeah, no, it's good. That would be terrible. Well, let us know about your favorite Rock moment or your favorite Rock rivalry. If we missed something, let us know. Go over to their socials at 2wordsLTN. We've made it an entire season 5. I didn't mess that up once.
You did it. I think you're right.
It's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle. And we are so thankful if you just head over there, hit like or subscribe, whatever social media you're at. Give us, empower me, validate me, please. That would be great. And then let us know your opinions on any of the shows that we've done. But we're going to be taking a break for a little bit.
Couple months.
couple months.
Be back in
recharge.
in August.
And I'm assuming it's probably going to be the busiest and most entertaining months of wrestling,
as it tends to be for some reason.
as it tends to be.
Summer is usually pretty garbage until SummerSlam, but
Yeah.
these last couple of years have been like, well, there's a lot of stuff we should talk about.
A lot of stuff we should talk about, and we're not. So
Last break we had, John had plans on just throwing up some like TikTok-esque videos every now and then, and that never.
That didn't happen. And so I'm not going to promise it this time. I was thinking it meant, I'm like, maybe I should say that. I'm not going to this time.
We're just trying to keep your hopes up. Keep checking the website.
Maybe.
Never comes.
I don't think anybody's going to keep checking. I wonder if John said something.
Oh my gosh, did you see what happened at Raw? I need to know what John thinks. Hey, there are a lot of people that care about what we think.
Well, and you know what? That is not lost on me. That is, I genuinely appreciate.
Otherwise, we'd have been long canceled by now.
Yeah. So nobody likes me enough to just keep me around. I'm just taking up space. But I guess that's our show. So until we meet again. My name is John. His name is Matt. And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.